I'm making this video because I saw a post on Facebook mentioning that they were having some trouble getting ISI's inventory manager to work, and I wanted to point out some things that they could do to kind of help optimize their experience. Um, ISI's is very much an LCD managed script, for lack of a better term. You use a lot of LCDs in the process of setting it up. Um, the main LCD that you really want to worry about though is this one right here, which is essentially this is your auto crafting LCD, and this basically allows the script to know what it is that you want and how many of it you want. Um, but there's a couple of other things that you can do to help that out. I'll come back to this in just a moment. Um, One of the best things that you can do is create special containers that contain specific items that you want, easy access to. For example, I have this container here set up to contain one of each type of tool. So a welder, grinder, basically all of the stuff. So if I ever die, I can basically just quickly come in here, double click everything in here, and it will automatically replace it without me having to do anything. So I just grab everything in this container and walk away, and I'm happy. No issues. Very similarly, up here, this container here contains pretty much every starter component. So these are the components that are frequently used to essentially start building a block. So you get your interior plates, your steel plates. Construction components is kind of a rare one for a starter component, but I have it there just because there are a few blocks that use it. I'm not sure what uses motors. I may have just added that because motors are a really common component. I don't remember. It's been several months since I played on this world. Bulletproof glass is the same as the steel plates and interior plates. But yeah, so you can just grab these and these, and in a few seconds, the script will detect that I took those out, and it will put them all back in. So I just grab the components that I need, and I walk away, and I'm happy. No issues. And I can actually go ahead and put all of those back, and the script will, again, automatically detect that, remove them, and go put them in a different container. So back here, I have my assembler. This is my space shuttle. I haven't used it yet. But I have an assembler, fully upgraded, refinery fully upgraded. Script manages all of this. So it automatically determines what materials I still need and sends those to the refinery to get turned into useful ingots. And it automatically detects what I have a deficit of in terms of components, and then will automatically queue those up in my assembler here. In terms of storage, it's actually really, really simple. You just place down a bunch of containers, and as long as you've got a couple of special containers that have everything specifically that you want, you don't really have to do a whole lot in the background. You can just let the script do its thing. So in here, I've got basically just a jumble of every component that I've queued up on that LCD. I'll show it to you more specifically in just a second. But here you have pretty much every component that the script was able to queue up and actually craft. And then over here, you've got ingots and ores. And that's it. It's just that simple. These two over here are extra. They're not being used yet. As soon as these two get filled up, these two will automatically get allocated to whatever is needed. I'm playing with my mod. It's called Component Compression. So these numbers here will get really, really big really, really quickly. Component compression can use literally thousands of components in the production of the higher tiered components. So yeah, these numbers can get really, really big and really, really confusing really quickly. So coming in here and being able to just specify how many components I need, several thousand, I think at one point in a previous world, these numbers were as high as like 1.5 million components in the case of the really, really high tiered components. But just real quick, I can show you a little bit of how to actually configure this. So if we go in here, this is the custom data. So this is where it stores information on stuff that you've either hidden or you don't want visible in the forefront. So I've actually hidden a lot of components here, several of them, because I don't necessarily want them visible on this screen here. I don't need them visible. So here I've got pretty much all of the primary components, and those are all I'm really worried about. I don't need it to show me things like the automatic rifle. I'm not even using that anymore. I have it. I've upgraded beyond that. The regular hand drill, the regular welder, data pads. I don't need it to handle data pads. There's also some other things that you can specify here. But I will need to, like I said, it's been a very long time since I played. So yeah, here. So here are the tags that you can add to the end of these. So if you add one of these tags to any of the ends, so you could just stick it right here, the script will automatically detect that, and once it has done that, it will do whatever the appropriate action is. So, sorry about that. I've got my phone next to me. So for example, you can specify a component to assemble only, which means that it will only assemble that component, it will never disassemble it. So basically what that means is that you can have as much of it in your storage system as you want, but if it will only actually do something with this component when it drops below whatever number you've specified here. So this is the number you can actually punch in and have the script actually detect whether it has more or less of it. Similarly, you can also set something to disassemble only. Disassembly essentially means that you can have as small a number of that component as you want. It'll never do anything with it. The only time it'll do something is if you get more than a certain number of component. So this is really good for things like, let's see, medical components. So with medical components, you're never going to need more than 15. 15 is the biggest number that you will ever need of medical components, because 15 is what's required for a medical room. So if you have enough to build a medical room, you're good. You don't need any more of them. So if you grind down I don't know, like a captured ship that you pirated or something like that, and it happened to have some medical components aboard, either in a survival kit or a medical room, the medical components, you just stick them in your storage system. The script will detect, oh, I have like 30 medical components. I only need 15. So it'll grind down 15 of those. You could set it to be a priority item. So, for example, setting something like construction components or motors, steel plates especially would be a good one. You set that to prioritize that specific item, and it will craft those before everything else. So as soon as it gets the resources to do so, it'll just instantly start crafting those, which is really, really good for commonly used components like steel plates and motors and construction components, stuff like that. The hide and manage in background function is kind of niche, but it is useful where it is actually needed. It is quite useful. For example, as I was showing before, this is all of the hidden stuff that it's managing in the background. So for example, ammunition. I don't need to see the ammunition. It doesn't really matter to me because I'm not going to be using it that frequently. Not in this world. On a public server where I'm defending myself constantly, I might need a more active, like awareness of this particular item. But on my solo survival world where I'm just killing zombies, I have that mod installed. Yeah, I don't need to see this number. So I have the script managing it. It's always making sure that I have 10 in my storage system, but I don't see this number, and I don't need to. The script will handle it automatically for me. Same thing with explosives. I don't even know if I'm ever going to use explosives, but I have it here just in case. I think I actually have the hand tools set up yeah, I do. So I actually have the hand tools set up this way as well. So the script is managing them. It's making sure there's always 2 of each of them in the system, but I don't see this number because I don't need to. I know there's always going to be 2. They're not that expensive. And then the hide and ignore command is basically just for things that you don't want the script to touch at all. So, for example, like a modded component that you're only going to need a few of. I have the script not messing with my modded components from component compression purely because of how extreme the cost is of those particular components. So because of how extreme those costs are, I don't want the script to be constantly attempting to craft them up. It's just too much. The numbers are too big. There's too many things to keep track of. There's 6 extra tiers of all of the basic components. It's not a good thing for the script to mess with. So the hide and ignore command for me is actually really useful because I have a lot of components that I don't want the script to mess with. So I can add that tag to whatever modded components I want, and it's not going to cause any problems. A couple of side notes, something that I actually just discovered in the last couple of minutes since I loaded up this world. Like I said, it's been a long time since I've loaded it up. If you need your hydrogen bottle to get refilled, it's best not to put it directly into the container where it's going to end up in the end. So in this configuration, I have 2 hydrogen bottles in the system, but the script is set not to craft them. So it's not supposed to craft hydrogen bottles. So there will never be more than 2. 1 in my inventory and 1 in the system. So it's best not to put this directly in here, because if you do, yeah, the script will detect that it's there, but it's just going to stick it in another container and it's not going to touch it. So you'll see that if I go around and I actually look in, well, if I can, I may have covered it. I feel silly now. Hold on. Or maybe it's not in there. It must be in this one. Yeah, here it is. Or no, that's an oxygen container. What did it do with that bottle? Now I'm very confused. Hold on. The case of the vanishing bottle. Ooh, what happened? This is one of those odd things. There it is. It found it. Okay. So it figured out where it was. Okay, so in this case, it actually did go ahead and fill the bottle, but sometimes it doesn't. So I just did a little bit of reorganizing here to try and mitigate that issue to a certain extent. So if I go up here and I fly around a little bit, hold on, and get it to refill my suit's hydrogen. There we go. Ow. So now you can see it needs to be refilled. I find that it's actually best to go ahead and put the bottle into the O2H2 generator. I actually have a mod. It's part of component compression that renames all of the O2H2 generators to electrolyzer because I don't know, it just makes more sense. Just personal choice. Don't worry about that. And then I can go in here, I can grab it, and the script will automatically detect that I took that bottle out, and it's going to put it back now. Any second now. There it is. So, yeah, that's just a really, really basic rundown on how the script works. I'm just going to throw those, you remember that block of ground down, just throw those components in here, script detects it, takes them out. Done. Easy. Yeah, I can't think of anything else to say about the script. It has its own like tutorial website, which is really, really helpful, and it helped me a lot when I was setting this script up, and I highly, highly recommend that anyone using it give that at least a basic cursory read through if you already have like some familiarity with how scripting works and stuff like that. If you're already kind of like loosely familiar with how, you know, the whole scripting thing in Space Engineers works, you may not need to read through it quite as thoroughly as you might have otherwise. But in my case, I didn't have to, basically I just looked for the stuff I needed. So I went for LCDs, I went for this LCD in particular. You can actually see, you know, sort of how some of this stuff works. Let me see, hold on. Yeah, so this is an example of the coding. This is some stuff you can configure here. So here I have it specified ingots, so I want it to show what ingots I have. And then I have single line, no bar. So essentially what that's going to do is it's going to tell the script, no matter what, to try and confine each individual entry on this list to a single line and not have it show the bar. So I can actually remove this bit here. So if I do that, it'll actually show a little bar here. But I find that that actually shows less information and less useful information on the particular material. So I prefer to have no bar enabled, like so. I find that this bit here, this something out of whatever number you have specified, it tends to be much more useful than having the bar on it. I've got the same thing set up for ores. This one here isn't a necessary LCD. I have it because I like to keep track of what's causing lag in my video games. So for me, this performance thing is actually kind of helpful. So it tells me exactly what the script is doing at any given time. Let's see. This is basically just telling me what containers the script is managing. So you can see it's got one ores container, one ingots container, one components container, and the ores and ingots container is actually the same container. So this is the same one. So you can actually see all these numbers are the same. It doesn't tell you that here though, but you can actually separate out these containers if you want. So you can go in here and you can say that this just stores ores or just stores ingots. So if I were to go in here, I can remove the ingots tag from this box, and you'll see that now it just has ores in it, and it will probably have reallocated one of the, yeah, there it is. So it reallocated this one right here to ingots. So I can actually go in here and I can remove the ores tag from here, and now it'll just store ingots. It won't store anything else in this container. Yeah, I mean, like I said, that's kind of the gist of it. There's not really anything else super fancy going on with this. It's basically just type in the numbers you want, and that's it. Issy has worked really, really hard on this script to make it as easily managed and easily understood as he possibly can. I can't imagine him being able to do a whole lot else with this script to actually like improve its reliability and its usability. I'm sure he'll think of something though. He's much smarter than I am. But yeah, this is the warnings LCD here. It essentially basically just tells you if something happened that wasn't supposed to. Like for example, in this case, assembler starter base has a queue but is currently not assembling. Essentially what this is saying is that for some reason your assembler is not actually making components even though it has components in its queue to make. In this case, it's asking me, are there enough ingots for whatever it's trying to craft? The answer to that is probably no. I'm not sure. Like I said, it's been a minute since I played in this world. But if we go, yeah, so you can see here, it's on, it's got power, everything's working properly, but it doesn't have the resources. I think I'm actually missing iron is the issue here. Yeah, I think it's iron. I can double check that real quick. Yeah, I'm completely out of iron. So, yeah, this is just that's. Anyway, I'm rambling. This video's already kind of long, but here it is. This is Issy's Inventory Manager. Grab it. It's useful. Love it. I can't play without it at this point. I'm literally unable to play this game without it. It keeps me organized. It makes things everything so much simpler. Anyway, have a nice day.